Right, there we are, Andy. Andy, we're live again. Good to
Hi,
see
Nick.
you. Yeah,
Good to see you too.
good to see you. This is these are kind of odd, these things, aren't they? When we're just kind of sat in our own rooms having a bit of a chat. It'd be nice to do it in person, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be great to do it in person. Once you've had your up and I come back from a holiday, then I'm sure
Yeah,
we will.
yeah, we'll
Makes life
do
a
it.
lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely, we'll do it in person.
Yeah,
So, Andy, what are we chatting about today? You put the banner up on there, didn't you? Retirement. This is your topic that you've chosen, and it's a good topic. Retirement
yeah,
decisions we made: the good, the bad, and the ugly, or the good, bad, and ugly. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like a spaghetti western thing, that, isn't it?
yeah. It is.
So, what should we start with first, Andy? Should we start with good, bad, or ugly?
I think let's start with ugly first. Should we get those ones out of the way?
Hopefully, there are not too many of those. Otherwise, nobody's going to be taking our advice about retirement if we've just made a series of ugly decisions.
It might make them not take those ugly decisions as well, though, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with ugly then. Right, over to you then. What's the first thing that springs to your mind on ugly?
Well, there's only one really ugly decision that I made, and I think it's something we share.
Yeah, go on, fire away.
That's an organisation that we joined that we won't
Oh,
name.
yes.
That's just, yeah, it was horrific. So it promised so much and delivered so little, and was very toxic and
Yeah, absolutely. So
dragged a lot of time and effort out of us.
yeah, that's a good one. I've actually got that on my list as well. I nearly said the name of them, but I don't want to say the name because I don't want them to be sued for slander. But yeah, I mean that was a bad decision that turned into an ugly decision. Yeah.
Yes, it was. It turned ugly fairly quickly, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's on there for me. I've got that one on my list.
Yeah.
I've also got on my list of ugly decisions that when I retired and I was looking for something to do, I had the idea of being an angel investor because I thought I'll help small businesses get going. But I had a pot of money. I'd sold my business. I'd done okay. But one of the mistakes I made, and it turned ugly, was that I actually lent money to a friend to get involved in business. And I ended up in a scenario where the business didn't work and neither did the friendship. The friendship died as well. So lending money to friends, that was an ugly decision. And I agree with you that coaching CEO peer group international organization from America that we can't name was an ugly decision as well.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I don't want to dwell on ugly decisions too much. It's just, I think it's just good to actually remember them and remember you made them and then move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got to try things, haven't you?
Yeah,
But yeah. So what next then, Andy? Let's talk about good decisions then, because I know we've both got a lot more of them than the bad decisions, which we'll come on to in a minute. Anyway, so good decisions. What about you? Fire away. We'll take it in turns. You go first. What's yours? Take it in turns. First one from you.
So the first one for me is really stop looking for another job.
Tell us a bit more. What happened there when you say you stopped looking for another job? Just give us a little bit of background.
Well, after I finished work, I sort of thought I still wanted to do something full time,
right?
But really on my own terms rather than within a corporate. So I set up my own business and went and did sort of jobbing jobs, which were full time when I did them.
Oh, I see.
I was sort of looking for some sort of fulfillment out of them,
right?
Thinking that's where I would get it from because that's where I got fulfillment from before. So it was one of those things. I think it was my comfort zone was working and doing turnarounds and stuff like that, and that's what I thought I should do. I should do it on a smaller scale and on very specific things. But yeah, it turned out it was the wrong decision after trying it 3 times.
Okay, so where's the good decision in that then? Because you've confused me. Was that a bad decision or a good decision?
No, it was a good decision to stop looking for jobs.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is you left work, you left your corporate job, and then you started looking for jobs.
Yes.
And how long did that go on for?
Probably about 8 years.
Oh, blimey! So you looked.
8 or 9 years.
After you, so you were looking for another full-time job for 8 years, different
Well,
jobs.
no, I was looking for another project job, so it wasn't full-time, it was sort of finite in terms of
All
starting,
right.
so,
So
yeah.
the good decision you made then, let me get my brain around this. The good decision you made was 8 years after quitting your corporate job, you stopped looking for jobs.
Yeah, so I think
I
probably a
think
lot of my good decisions are linked up with my bad decisions, to be quite honest.
right, I get you. No, I've got
Yeah,
you. Right, I get that. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I was
yeah,
confused for a minute there. I
yeah.
thought you meant you'd kind of quit work and stop looking for another job, but you didn't. You carried on for quite a while
I carried on for a long time.
looking for more jobs.
Yeah,
What you're saying is the good decision was when you stopped doing that
when I
after about 8 years.
yes,
I get you.
yeah, and that then released me to start doing things I really wanted to do, to actually broaden it, and
Yeah.
it's a bit like the ugly decision, you get into that situation and then you carry on trying to make it work for too long
Mm.
rather than recognizing this isn't working, just getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, I get you. My good decision was the quitting work full time at 44 years of age.
Yeah,
Even though I found it very difficult for quite a few years to make the transition, it was actually the best decision of the lot.
yeah,
Everything that's transpired over the last 20 years since I made that decision has been, the positive things. I wouldn't have been able to do those positive things if I hadn't made that decision. So
yeah,
that was the best decision I made. Quitting work at 44. Um, I didn't necessarily plan for it. I'll talk about that later, but that was the best one.
yeah, yeah. No, that wasn't a decision I made. That was made for me, which is probably why I did try to look for another job for so long. But yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that was
How,
that definitely the case. Yeah, sorry.
no, I was just going to say. So, I mean, how about what other ones? What other good decisions have you made, Nick?
Other good decisions. A more recent one would be. In fact, I tell you what, I won't talk about a recent one. I'll do them in chronological order a little bit. We'll come to
Yeah,
the later one. So the early retirement decisions. So obviously, quitting work at 44 was the correct decision. The thing that then links to that is that traveling to some pretty exotic places when I was in my late 40s was the right decision.
yeah,
Long haul holidays to the far flung parts of the world, South America, Australasia, New Zealand, Singapore, the Far East. I had the energy to do it then. I didn't have a dodgy gallbladder, which meant I could go to a market in Singapore and stuff my face with stir-fried noodles and not be in agony.
yeah,
Whereas now I can't do any of that, and I haven't been able to do any of that for a few years. So
yeah,
if I'd have delayed, if I'd have waited, like a lot of people do, maybe worked through till I was 60 and then go traveling the world, I'd have been screwed. I wouldn't have been
yeah,
able to do it.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm actually delighted that I made that decision. To go to those exotic places. At least I've
yeah,
ticked them off the bucket list. I've been to them. I've seen them,
yeah.
and I don't have to worry about going to exotic places anymore. What about you?
So I think, well, yeah, one of the really good decisions I made was we buying a flat down in Portsmouth by the sea.
Why did you do that?
Well, we spent a lot of time. So my wife comes from Portsmouth. We spent a lot of time there. We like being by the sea,
Yeah.
and we just decided to do it. We just decided, just before COVID, we decided that we'd buy a flat. Had a lot of criteria in terms of how much we'd spend, etc., etc. But we found one.
Yeah.
And it's been the best thing that we've done. It's fantastic. When we go down there, it's a home away from home. It's somewhere that we can go and relax. We go swimming in the summer, go for nice long walks. We go there by ourselves sometimes if we need a bit of time away from each other, which is good. But it's brilliant. Plus, on the plus side, it's worth a lot more than it was when we bought it.
Hey, even better.
Even better then.
Yeah, that's right. So when you get put into this nursing home and you're having to shell out, how much is it a week from nursing homes now? £2,000 a week, is it over here?
£2,000 a week, yeah.
How much? 2,000.
It's 2,000, yeah.
Right. So when you end up in a nursing home, £2,000 a week, you'll be able to flog that flat and pay for it for a few years.
Yeah, I think you can do deals where you pay a lump sum up front and they'll keep you for the rest of your life. And obviously,
We don't want to talk about that. I know I brought the subject up, but we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. It was my fault. I should never have brought it up.
Yeah,
Trust you to know all about it. You got it planned, have you?
No, it's just one of my brothers.
I'm just going to drop dead. I'm going to drop dead having fun, Andy. I'm not going in a nursing home. I've got like my uncle Archie. He's 94. He's 95 in April.
Yeah.
He's not in a nursing home yet.
No.
You know, I don't think he ever will be, to be honest. He lives in a 2-bedroom, semi-detached house in York, with an upstairs. It's not a 2 up, 2 down because it's a 1960s semi, but it's the same principle: 2 up, 2 down. You know, he's got a stair lift to get upstairs now, but he's still there. Cleans his own house, cooks his own meals, potters in the garden with a little bit of help. 94 years of age.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm still like that when I'm 94.
Me too. He's my role model for that, and such a positive attitude. Such a positive attitude. Yeah. So next thing on my list is I think the good decisions I've made, the link to the bad decisions, was I actually tried things out. I tried things. I think you've got to take risks. You've got to experiment in your retirement years, or certainly your post 50 years. I don't know whether the retirement's the right word, but your post 50 years. You don't want to do that thing anymore. You've retired from it. So at 44, I retired from being a company owner. So what do I do? Well, I tried different things.
Yeah.
Some of them ended up being bad decisions, but I'm pleased that I tried them. So that was a good decision.
Yeah. We've had one comment, Nick, and that's Tarleon. I'll probably pronounced that wrong, but Uncle Archie is an inspiration. Which
he certainly is. He certainly is. I ought to have him on the channel a bit more often. I really should.
You have to do one of these with him.
Well, I was going to say, maybe when you clear off to New Zealand for a month, maybe I should do this with Uncle Archie.
Yeah, maybe you should.
I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see. But maybe I ought to bring him on a bit more often.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But he can talk. He can talk for England, can Uncle Archie?
Yeah.
He talk more than you, Andy.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe, but he genuinely can.
Believe,
He's an international level talker. Yeah. So, what about you then? Any more good things on your list?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing golf again about the same time, just for lockdown, which I've been putting off for ages and making excuses not for doing it. But I play. Well, I don't play at all at the moment. It's too wet. Golf course is shut. But I play, 2 or 3 times a week if I can. When the weather's good, and it gets me out, gets me fit and healthy. And I should have done it a lot earlier. I should have done it when I was in my late 40s, early 50s. Not waited until I was in my late 50s. But yeah. That was a good decision.
But you didn't have any time to do anything, Andy, because you were looking for jobs, weren't you, for 8 years?
I did have time.
Oh, you did have time.
I did have time. Well, I could have made time.
Right.
I chose not to. Well,
yeah,
I chose not to. But
yeah.
But when I made the decision to do it, it was a good decision. Because I thought I wasn't trying to play.
A good decision to take up golf.
To play golf again, yeah. I'm not very good at it, but yeah.
Well, you know what one of my good decisions was? Because you've just jogged my memory. Do you know what one of my good decisions was?
What?
To quit playing golf.
You still play every now and again, Nick.
I don't. The only time I've played golf is I play with you. That was a year ago. So you've got me on the topic. I quit golf because it's a game that makes me angry.
I did notice.
I am a club. Yeah, you did notice, did you? I am a club thrower.
You didn't do that while we were playing.
No, well, I'm a bit more mellow now, but I decided that I'd quit, and it's the best thing because I've never been much good at golf. I think I got to about 18 handicap at one time, but it was rare that I could actually play to 18. Most of the time, I was hacking my way across from the rough, from one side of the rough to the other side, you know, and all that kind of. No, so yeah, I'm glad I quit. But I'll play with you, Andy. I'll play with
but
you.
you get much more value for money if you're hacking from one side to the other.
You're a calming influence.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, looks like I've got a fan. I just put these on. Thank you very much. However you pronounce your name, Phil on X. Watched all my videos. Thanks. Yeah, fantastic. And thank you very much for your support in that. And they're good. Thank you. Yeah, I do my best. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a green with a flag in it. I very rarely made it there without. Most of the time, I'd have to pick up my ball before I got there. Didn't I, Andy?
Yes, you did. No. We let you play out because we were only playing a 2-ball league. So.
I made it to the green on only a handful of occasions, if I recall, last year. But then that was the first time I'd played in years, and I was playing with a set of clubs from 1989.
Yeah,
Lynx Parallax that I bought in Florida. That I bought in Florida.
Didn't you, Nick?
I enjoyed the walk.
Yeah.
Well, and I enjoyed your company, having a chat.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed a beer after. I enjoyed a beer afterwards.
And you did play a few really good shots as well.
Yeah, and I keep threatening to take the game up again, don't I? But we shall see. But yeah, thanks for reminding me about golf. So I've taken my turn on good decisions about quitting golf. So back over to you. Back over to you.
Yeah, so I enjoy talking with people.
I know you do,
as you noticed. So setting up the group that I have locally, Men's Oasis.
Yeah.
Was a good decision. Been going now for nearly 2 years.
A chance to plug Men's Oasis, Andy. Where is Men's Oasis based?
Men's Oasis is based in Wokingham, which is about 30 miles west of London.
Where in Wokingham do you meet up?
In Wokingham Library, and we meet up once a month on the fourth Friday of every month.
So let's summarize that then. It's Men's Oasis, Wokingham Library.
Yep.
When?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Fourth Friday of every month.
Fourth Friday of every month. Excellent. Yes. And what do you guys get up to in your Men's Oasis?
We just chat about men's stuff. So people bring up topics. We talk about all sorts of things. We talk about everything: politics, religion, AI. People give advice on or things they've tried or things they've done, but it's just a place for men to meet, and it is men only, but it's a good place to chat, and it's good fun. I enjoy it.
Is it like a kind of executive version of Men's Shed?
Sort of. I don't want to say it's a more intellectual version of Men's Shed, because there are a lot of people who go to Men's Shed who are intellectual, but it's it is a bit like Men's Shed without the woodworking or metalworking or repairing or whatever it is they do in Men's Shed. So it's for people who just really enjoy doing just talking, and they miss that. So once you retire, I found that lots of people I spoke to said they missed it, and you couldn't. Very, very hard to find things which appeal to men, clubs or associations or whatever it is, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Apart from the golf, apart from but there isn't that much. Or if you're into some sports, then that's fine. But it is. It was just giving an alternative for that. So.
That's good, actually. That's really good, and that's a very good point, because if you're not into your sports, then and you're a man of a certain age who's retired. Yeah, what is there out there? I think you've said before as well that sometimes men find it harder to transition into retirement than women do. I'll let you explain it, but I think the gist of it is that you feel that we aren't as good at the social connection thing as the ladies are. Is that the gist of it?
It is. So, I mean, if you think about our networks are all transactional based. So as you build your network through, you've got a few friends outside work, but most of your network and most of the people you spend most of your time with is based upon things that people who can do things for you, or you can do things for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really build a network of friends that you just talk and have a laugh with. You don't do it. Women
Yeah.
tend to do that a lot more.
Yeah.
They network, and they manage to make those connections much better than we do. And I mean, it's one of the things we've talked about a lot, about networking, about how do you build your networks, how do you do something different.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question related to that though? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's a man thing? Because I've come across a number of women who have been CEOs, managing directors of companies. Okay.
Yeah.
And they seem to have the same challenges as the men who've been in those roles.
Yeah, this is a generalization, because there are
Right.
so it doesn't it's not for everybody, but it's just saying that there are more men that this happens to than women.
Yeah.
But it's not saying it's exclusive to men. It's just a more of that sort of trait. And I think it goes back to as we were growing up, or as we were evolving as a species, men went out and did the sort of hunter-gathering, and it was about transactional stuff, about getting something done, getting a job done, and that's how you build your network up. Women, it was more about the nurturing and looking after everything that was back in the camp, in the home, while the men were out hunting, or whatever it was they were doing.
Right. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, Andy, we don't want you to get labelled as a misogynist. Yeah, an old relic from a bygone age. Moving on, back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. One of the things that has been good for me has obviously been the launching of this YouTube channel.
Yep.
It's given me a vehicle with which to share my knowledge, which is important to me. It's given me a vehicle to help other people that may still be facing these things, that they haven't yet gone down the cul-de-sacs, and they haven't yet encountered the hurdles. So hopefully can help this. But the most important thing, and the reason I did it more than anything else, is that one day my son will have a video archive of his dad giving advice about how to get through life as a middle-aged man.
Yeah.
Now, at the moment, 26 years of age, that doesn't matter. But in 30 years' time, when I'm doing what Archie's doing, when I'm 93, at least he'll be able to look at the archive and see me. And when I've snuffed it, he'll have all this video footage of me.
Yeah, that's true.
I wish I had a lot of video footage of my dad.
Yeah.
I've just got a few faded cine films from the 1960s and the 1970s, and a few kind of video shots from 20 odd years ago, before the iPhone, before people videoed everything. It would have been good to have a lot more footage. So that's been good for me, the YouTube channel. Andy, are we close to getting onto the bad things, or have you still got some good things that you'd like to share with us?
I think we should go on to some bad things before we exhaust. Because there's quite a few of those.
There are quite a few. Well, there's not that. I mean, I've only got a couple for you written down, but maybe you'll think of a few others as we talk. But the bad things, Andy, the bad decisions that we made, the bad decisions that you made. Fire away. What's first on your list?
So I think the first one, the biggest one for me, was not admitting that I was lost for a long time. Or that I needed help, or I needed to talk to people, or sort things out.
Okay. And how long did that go on for, that not admitting that you were lost and needed help?
Probably about 10 years. So I think my wife recognised it, but I didn't. Or I pretended not to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, and it's very hard to admit it. I think if you haven't felt like that, or you've been engaged and everything's worked, it's really hard to admit that to yourself and to other people.
So when did you do that then? How long ago would you say you did do that, and tell us how it came about?
It probably came about from our discussions, actually.
Right. Okay.
Maybe a little bit before that, but it was definitely after that ugly decision that we made. or during it, and it was just starting to realise that this just wasn't, that was it again, looking for another job, I suppose. But it was again, it was wrong, and it just all felt wrong, and I just didn't feel comfortable or fulfilled. I just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And it's like all these things, and until you actually say that and say it out loud and recognise it, you can't do anything about it. You can't fix it.
And who did you say it to?
I don't know who I said it to first. My wife would be one of the first people. You probably would have been, and one of my close friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. But then it becomes easier to talk, and the more you talk about it, the more you realise you're not the only person. So a bad decision was not admitting it early enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what have you done as a result of admitting it and bringing it out into the open? What have you then subsequently done?
Well, I do now what I want to do. So, set up the Men's Oasis. We have the chats that we have, but I tend to, I know the things I want to do, and I get up, however I feel during the day, or in the morning or whatever it is. It tends to be what I do during the day, but I've got a lot of things to choose from.
Good.
So yeah, and still working on it, still doing things around it.
It's a work in progress.
It is, but it's recognizing things that I really enjoy doing, which are very personal, very doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me.
Good. I put a comment up on there from John's Garage. John saying, join a class or club to help you get out of the house, or do what Andy's done, where you never mind joining a class or a club, form one, create one. If you can't, what's that expression? If you can't join them or something, I forget what it is now off the top of my head. Can't beat them, join them. No, I don't know.
No, it can't be that.
Can't be that. No. But set up your own gang.
Yeah,
that's it. If you can't find a gang, set up your own gang. Set up your own gang and invite people to be part of it.
And if it wasn't the same, Nick, it is now.
It is now. Yeah, exactly. So you didn't join a club. You didn't join a class or a club, did you, Andy? You set your own up.
I set my own up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's great. And you only need one follower. When it's just you on your own, that can be hard in a club of one. Yeah. But you only need one follower, and you've got a movement, haven't you?
You've got a movement, yeah. And then
exactly.
You've got a tsunami.
So thanks for that, John's Garage. Yeah, you're right. Joining classes, clubs, get yourself out of the house is certainly one of the things that could work for some people. Yeah.
So Nick, what about you for bad?
The bad. Well, in chronological order, I was as lost as you, Andy, from sort of 44 to 50. I don't think it was quite as bad because I had a bit of a purpose in the sense that I was spending a lot of time with my son. My wife and I had him quite late on in our late 30s, and we'd been married for years before he finally came along. So I had him to focus on. So I didn't feel completely as lost, but I felt a bit kind of, what am I going to do now? And I'd sold a business and I had a pot of money. So I bought far too much stuff to kind of, I don't know why I was buying so much stuff, but I was changing cars regularly, buying new cars, watches, clothes. I just went completely crackers on stuff. And then I woke up one day and thought, this is completely ridiculous. And I stopped. Yeah. And then I actually, went into a slightly different gear. I would say more into reverse. Which links back to one of my good decisions, which was downsizing. So by the time we downsized, I'd got rid of 75% of my stuff, and I hadn't bought a car, in years. So I'd changed my whole attitude to stuff. But bad decision, just buying stuff, particularly cars, a consumer item that just devalues the minute you drive it out of the dealership.
Yeah.
So why I was doing that, I don't know, Andy. But I did. I was a bit lost for a while, and that's what I did. Yeah. So that's me. What about you? Another thing on your bad decisions list?
Yeah. So lack of preparation for retirement. I mean, it happened to me
Ah.
suddenly, but I'd never even when it happened, I'd never even contemplated it, which is probably why
Mhm.
I looked for jobs for so long because I didn't have a plan. Um, I didn't really think. I didn't actually think it was ever going to happen, or it happened in the way that it did, where I lost my job.
When you say
Uh,
lack of preparation, do you mean preparing for what you're going to do?
yes, what I'm going to do. So when I
Not we're not
start,
talking money here, are we? Because I mean, I think you were
no,
prepared financially for it.
yeah, no, but
Yeah,
it. So the money wasn't an issue. It was more, yeah, what I was going to do.
yeah. I see. I know what you mean. So for you, it was you didn't have anything to retire to.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So I didn't have something to fill that void, which was all encompassing of work before.
yeah. And Peter's
Um,
asked us a question, which I think links to this. Is there? I wants to know, Andy, if there's any criteria you have when starting something new to avoid pitfalls of just filling time.
uh, yeah, but I'm not enjoying it. I mean, it's so the things I do don't feel like they're filling time. Um, I think it goes for me. It goes back to the way I think about it. I know that you do it in a very different way, Nick,
I do. Yep.
but
We'll let
but
you say
but
your piece first.
but mine's more of a response to the way I feel rather than an analysis of what's right and what's wrong. So if it feels wrong, and I think that's something I've always done throughout my life. If it feels wrong, then I don't do it. I stop doing it because time filling is well, it's a waste of time. I've got so many things that I want to do. It's
Hmm.
just being in the right mood to do things at the right time. So criteria are a bit softer and more being in tune with my emotional side and on how I'm feeling,
Yep.
and understanding more around you know who I am and what my purpose is.
Yeah.
If
So
that makes sense.
I'll come on. There's another comment I'm going to bring up in a minute, Andy, but we'll stick to Peter's at the moment, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So my side, is there any criteria you have when starting something new to avoid pitfalls just filling time? Yeah. For me, Peter, I like to do a bit of analysis first. I like to do a bit of research. Not too much because I think you can, if you're not careful, you can procrastinate. So for me, I like to do a bit of research in terms of trying to figure out some background to whatever that thing is, whether it be a YouTube channel or whether it be going on a health kick or whether it be forming a new club or joining a club. I like to do a bit of research, but I also believe that you've got to keep trying things. You shouldn't be frightened to try things, try new things, whatever those things are. However, you've also got to walk away pretty quickly from them if based on what Andy's saying about emotions and your gut feel. You've got to walk away as soon as you get those nasty gut feels and then just try something new. And I think for me, one of my bad decisions is I tended not to walk away soon enough from things, whatever those things were, whether it be a job or a business opportunity or a club I joined or that awful organization that ugly organization Andy and I gave them 2 years, and I knew after 3 months that they weren't right for me.
Yeah.
But I stuck it out because of the sunk cost. So if you feel it isn't right, if you move on and just keep trying new things. Don't procrastinate.
I think the other thing is the criteria that and we've talked about it a couple of times in these before, and I know you've talked about it, Nick, and that's around doing things because you want to do them, not because you think it's something that you should be doing or someone else thinks you should be doing. And so that's part of the process of if you look at something and go, no, I just don't fancy doing it, don't do it. You don't have to.
Exactly. There'll always be another opportunity, another thing that you
Yeah.
can try.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it's important just to be open-minded, have a growth mindset, just be prepared. Just keep reading and listening, and networking, whatever floats your boat, and there'll be something else, something that sparks your interest that you can then have another go, and can just keep going. At the end of the day. Right. So with that, hopefully that's answered that, Peter. I hope that's given you an answer. Just put this one up on here, Andy, for you. We get a lot of comments like this, and I am sympathetic to this comment. I do sympathise. If the finances aren't healthy, you pretty much can't consider retirement, unfortunately. Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's difficult for me to comment on that because the finances were healthy. Same with you, Andy. The finances were healthy. What would you say to somebody whose finances aren't healthy?
Well, I do know some people who've retired when those finances aren't that healthy.
Okay, and what's happened to them?
They're okay. They do things. They find a lot of things which don't cost money. They move to a cheaper area.
Yep.
To generate some sort of money.
Yep.
But there's some people who, they're not drawing their state pensions yet. They retired in their early 50s, and they're living on between them about £15,000 a year.
Seriously, wow.
Seriously, they moved up north. They moved up to near Manchester, and they've joined a local church because there's a lot of free events that go on, like coffee mornings and stuff like that, which builds their network. They can talk to other people, but they tend to do things that that don't require the money. So if you really, and they seem to be fine.
So what you're saying is it's not easy, but it might be a possibility.
Yeah.
Is that the gist of it?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to comment on it because I don't know anybody who that falls into this category. I mean, so
well, they retired because they hated their jobs. They absolutely hated what they were doing. So it's, why do I keep on doing this? If I can work out I may not be as well off, but if I can work out a better way of life without doing something I really do, spending most of my life doing something I hate, then I'll do it. But a lot of planning had to go into it, and resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. So we won't go too much on that because Andy and I tend not to cover financial topics because they're a very personal thing. So, but thanks for bringing that up, Jorge. Appreciate that, and you are right with what you say. It is difficult for some people. Right, Andy. Bad behaviour. Was it you or me?
I don't know. I can't remember. Do you want to do another one, Nick?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll have a go. So, what else have I put on my list here? Yeah, well, we've got a common one actually. You've already said it. Okay. No preparation or planning.
Yeah.
In advance of retirement. Yeah. And unlike you, I had plenty of time to prepare. I knew it was coming. I mean, I owned a business. The business was for sale. Somebody was going to buy it. I knew that a few years out that it was going to be an eventuality. But the reason I didn't prepare for it is that I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be retirement.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I don't think it was retirement. Well, it was retirement, but I don't think my mindset saw it as retirement when I was 44. I saw myself as taking a bit of a break at 44, and there was still the possibility I might return to doing something full time. But after a few years, I decided I wasn't going to return to full time, so I had retired when I was 44. In reality, but when I was 44, I didn't see it as that. But I had nothing. I didn't prepare for anything. No plans, nothing to retire to, no network built in advance. The only thing I had was a short-term plan to go and do a bit of traveling with my family and things like that. But I didn't have anything else. So that was a bad decision.
When did that change then, Nick?
A couple of weeks ago.
A couple of weeks.
No, what in terms of planning, you mean?
Yeah.
Do you know something? I think it changed when I was about 50.
Really?
Yeah, when I actually thought I'm retired now, so I need to give some serious thought to it. I think I drifted for about 4 years, indulging, spending too much money, going on holidays, great times with my family, so it was a good decision. And then when the big 50 approached, I started putting together a bit more of a plan and an operating system, not just a plan, a whole operating system for myself as a person, of which planning was part. So I thought, right, I need to, do something here. And we've talked at length about it, you and I. Obviously, finding a purpose was right in there. But I've got an operating system that I call it the 6 Ps, and it covers everything from your physical health to your mental health to your prosperity, money, the whole shooting match. But like 6 levers that I think you have to pull. And I started building, or six dials that you turn. And I basically started turning those dials. Well, I created the dials and started working out what I wanted to do in each of those things. So about 50. But like you, it's still a work in progress. Those 6 things, I'm always tweaking them, and the dials are always turning on each of them.
Yeah.
In reality. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's the answer to your question. That's when it happened for me, when I turned 50.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Andy, have you got any others on your bad decisions?
Yeah. So there's a big one which covers a lot of things, but it's not doing things earlier.
Oh, not doing things earlier. For example, what didn't you do that you should have? What are we talking about? This thing that you should have done earlier. Give us an example.
Well, the golf.
The what? Sorry, golf. Did you say?
Yeah. So a lot of them are to do again with things that were good decisions at one point, some point, but it's just taking too long to do them. So
is that the best you can give us, Andy? Golf? Come on, you can do better than that. You're an intellectual who has a men's oasis. Surely there's something a little bit more. I don't know that's going to give us a eureka moment than golf.
A eureka moment.
Yeah, come on.
Give eureka moments.
Give us something that you wish you'd done earlier, but not golf.
But not.
Yeah. What do you wish you'd done earlier?
The problem is I've said a lot of it. So one of them is stop looking for work. Stop looking for that full-time job. That was one thing. So I wish I'd started doing that.
So you did. But you carried on for 8 years looking for a full-time job.
Yeah.
What would you, if you could go back and chat to yourself at the beginning of that process, how long would you have looked for a job?
I wouldn't have done that to begin with. I'd have worked out what it is that I wanted to do and didn't want to do before I did that. So I would have gone through a bit more of a process of understanding more about myself, and then
a bit more preparation and planning and things like that. You mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But also, making decisions or leaving things. So when we bought the flat, maybe buying that earlier. We could have bought it earlier. We just didn't. We downsized as well. Should have done it earlier, but didn't. And it's sort of.
So you wish you hadn't waited to do things; that you should have done them earlier. Yeah,
and it's that sort of. It's prevaricating. So you do them eventually, and then when you do them, you go, "Why didn't I do that earlier?" I suppose an example with you, Nick, would be your gallbladder thing. So you could have had it done earlier.
It would have. It would have helped if the NHS hadn't have diagnosed it as kidney stones.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That would have been incredibly helpful. To be overnight in a hospital with pains, to be told that we think you've passed a kidney stone. Yeah. When it wasn't a kidney stone at all, it was gallbladder stones the whole bloody time, if you pardon my French. So every time I got these gallbladder pains, I'd be going, "Oh, I'm passing another kidney stone," and it was only a chance conversation with a friend of mine who's a surgeon, who said, "Well, tell me about the symptoms." And I said, "Well, I get this." And I told him all about it, and he said, "Have you thought it might be gallstones, And that was the first time anybody had mentioned gallstones. And I'd visited the doctors on a number of occasions, and kidney stones. Yes, I'm not blaming the NHS, but it helps, doesn't it? It helps when the experts are on your side.
Yeah,
they actually might do. I mean, all the doctor had to do was, well, look, we're not sure what it is. We'll send you off for a scan and we'll go and investigate it. That would have been useful. That would have been useful.
Helpful.
Yeah, that would have been really helpful, Instead, I started a journey of thinking it was food intolerance. It could be kidney stones. Is it food intolerances? Even the year when I had a really bad attack, the last one, a month before the attack, I was signing up to something to have a glucose monitor put on my arm because I thought I had food intolerances because I was getting these stomach aches. I thought, well, I might have something, something really bad, like, I don't know, ulcerative colitis or whatever, something really bad.
Oh.
Yeah. And all along it was gallstones. Anyway, sorry about that, Andy. That's a bit of a rant, but there you go.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that your angry man coming out?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we've got a Steve Woodhead here. I don't know if it's the same Steve. I used to know a Steve Woodhead from back in the day in Leeds. Is that you, Steve, or is it just a coincidence? Don't you think that a lot of retirees prevaricate because they're worried about spending too much? How do you avoid thinking like that? Andy, you don't worry about spending too much, do you? You just don't spend anything.
I don't spend anything. I mean, it's part of my Scots heritage. I mean, I'm surprised you spend so much money being a Yorkshireman. He does know you, Nick.
Is that Steve Woodhead?
It's that one.
Long time, Steve. Thanks for popping in onto the live.
I think that may be one thing that people are worried about, spending too much. But Nick said it earlier about traveling. So he was talking about traveling and doing things when he was younger and fit and healthy and able to do it. The thing that if you go speak to anybody about finances, and it's not giving financial advice, is that as you get older, you spend less on yourself.
Yes, good point.
So the amount you spend now will not be the amount that you spend in 10 years' time or 20 years' time.
Yes.
And you prevaricate and don't do it, but you have to do it at some point. And my own view is, if you need to do something or want to do something, do it now, because then you get more enjoyment out of it, rather than, so if it's something like you've got to redo your bathroom, something really terrible like that, the longer you leave it, the more time you have to put up with what you've got, and you don't get what you want. And I just think life's too short. As you get older, life's too short.
Absolutely.
That's my view. I don't know what you think, Nick.
Right. Well, my 10penneth on this is that I think it's the mindset of the person to some extent. If I'm honest, Steve. I think there's some people who sat on pots of money who are just tight, especially if they come from Yorkshire like you and I. I mean, my mother-in-law is has got no financial issues whatsoever, but getting her to open the purse, even to spend on herself, is tough. I mean, her and my father-in-law will sit in the house in the cold with the coats and scarves on rather than putting the heating on half an hour early. Now that's just a mindset. To me, that's just a mindset. But if people have got financial challenges, I understand they would be worried about spending too much. And also, I have had quite a few conversations with some men, particularly in their 40s, who've been watching this channel and have booked in to have a call with me, and they don't seem to realise that their peak spending is probably then, when they've got kids at school or potentially going to university and all this kind of stuff, and eventually that amount of money goes away. You don't spend on that anymore. It gradually declines. Yeah, you could then take the money that that you were paying for little Johnny to, have the latest cricket bat or whatever. You could spend that on yourself and buy a fancy car maybe. But the reality is, your spending goes down with each passing decade. I think my peak would be when I was about 56, 57. That's because of having a child later in life.
Yeah.
We had him when I was 38. So by the time I was 56, he was just going off to university. Yeah. And the 2 years preceding that were the peak years. 16, 17, wanted a car. You know, going off to, wanted all the latest clothes, but didn't, you know, want earning the money to pay for them. That was my peak years. Whereas, and that wasn't that long ago, but now I'm 63. That's all gone.
Yeah.
You know, bank of mum and dad has shut.
Yep.
The house has downsized. One of the best decisions I made. So, you know, all these sort of things. So, yeah. So I think people probably do worry about spending too much. And if they've not got much money, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But all I would say is that the way to avoid thinking like that is to wake up to the fact that the clock is ticking, you know, and you might end up as a, you know, if you're not careful, you might end up as a drooling old man in a nursing home in your 80s. So, yeah, wake up call.
Yeah, I think this sort of just brings out the fact that if you just prevaricate and you do it anyway, then the issue is not about spending too much. The issue is the prevarication in itself. It's not about the amount you're spending. Because you've done it, you end up doing it. So, you know, my view, you start off avoiding things like that, but start off with the end in mind. So what is it you want to achieve and how are you going to do it? And if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to spend the money, or you don't have to do it.
Yeah. And ultimately, if you've got the money to spend, then you should spend it on things that do genuinely make you happy. Just be careful not to fall into the trap of thinking buying stuff makes you happy. You know, because, I mean, I do see there are a lot of comments on my videos about people who defend their spending on cars and motorbikes. They say it makes them happy. They've got 10 cars, makes them happy. And if it does, it does.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as it's not a kind of, you know, the consumer mentality.
Yeah. No. But again, it's finding out what your purpose is and then driving towards that. So, if your purpose is, so one of my brothers is into cars. He's only in his early 50s, but he's got a couple of cars. But that's his passion. He's got 3 cars. But,
and a lot of people, it's their passion. I get that.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway,
if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. So yeah, thanks for asking that one, Steve, and you know, good to hear from you.
Yeah.
So, right, Andy. So how are we getting on? Anything else on the bad list?
I haven't got anything else. Have you got anything else?
Have I got anything else? No, I think I've pretty much covered off the bad decisions that I made. They all link into each other ultimately.
Yeah, they do.
So you know, I think the good, the bad, and the ugly link, because I think some of the things that turned out to be bad decisions, I'm glad I made those decisions because at least it was an experiment. It's a bit like the light bulb experiment. Was it Edison who had 1,000 attempts at making the light bulb before he finally got one that lit up? Each of those things is just it's a bad experience. It's a bad decision, but it's just a learning opportunity to make the next one potentially the right decision.
Yeah.
So they all link in. To my mind, they all. I don't think it's as black and white as good, bad, and ugly. Even though I did write that line as to get people to come and watch the video. I think everything links up.
No, that's why when you started saying about that's a very wide thing, because it all links. You know, the bad things or the ugly things have led to me learning stuff more about myself.
Absolutely.
More about what I like, more about what I don't like, more about how I want to interact with other people, more about the sort of people I want to interact with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's critical.
But I guess the thing that's common for both of you and me, we share a common theme, though, don't we? That neither of us really prepared or planned.
Yeah.
Okay. Neither of us took a real deep dive into ourselves to find ourselves, to discover who are we, what do we like doing, what kind of people do we like hanging out with, do we even like hanging out with people? We didn't do that deep dive, which then meant when the opportunities presented themselves, we didn't have sufficient knowledge to go yes or no.
Yep.
I think that's how I would sum it up for you and me. We share that, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And when you're at work, when I was at work, it was always about start off with the end in mind. So understand where you want to be, and then you can understand how you get from where you are to where you. But you need to understand where you are as well.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand where you are, you'll never. you can never really work out where you want to be or why you want to be there or what's right and what's wrong, or evaluate anything that comes up in front of you.
Yeah.
So is that something I think I would enjoy or not?
Yeah, exactly. So you do have to know yourself.
Yes.
And to really know yourself, you've got to spend. My honest opinion is, I think there's two things you've got to do. One, you've got to spend a lot of time on your own with no distractions.
Yeah.
So this is so. I'll come on in a minute and say what would do differently if I could. Got to spend a lot of time on your own. Yeah. And number two, you need somebody independent to help you figure it out, to ask you questions that you can then go and think about when you're on your own.
Yes.
Yeah. Not to hold you accountable or anything like that. Just somebody who will give you food for thought and get you to ask questions of yourself, so that you can just paint the complete picture. So if I had my time again, okay, and if I could go back and talk to myself, I don't know about 44, but certainly around 50, I'd have definitely signed up to some sort of coaching type setup. I think I would have done that. I don't know how that would look, whether it would be a group coaching thing or a community of people that that's doing it, or whether it be one-to-one coaching. I would say probably in my case, it would have been one-to-one coaching. I think I could have done with a retirement life coach when I was about 50.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing that I wished I'd done a bit more often is just to go off on a retreat, just me, 3 days away, just Nick in the woods, in a cabin, with no digital distractions, just a notepad and pencil and pen, and with the aim of just trying to work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then linking to that, I think the other thing I would do is I'd have probably taken a few more tests and things about, not necessarily psychometrics, but psychometrics, motivational tests, all those kind of things. I mean, you pointed people in the direction of a thing called Find My Why, didn't you?
Yeah.
I would have done probably a lot more of that. So those would have been the three things: personality, motivation tests, that sort of thing, coaching, and me time on my own with no distractions.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy? If you could go back and chat to yourself just before you were about to start searching for a job for 8 years, what would you say?
I think
What would you do?
Finding a group. I mean, there wasn't anything really to sort of to do with life after work. There's lots of things that help with when you're at work that help you prepare for retirement.
Yeah.
But there isn't a lot afterwards. But it would have been about finding out more about myself, finding out.
And how would you have done that?
I'd be better in a group environment.
So you would have maybe joined a group of some kind?
Yeah, so I would have. There's a certain amount that is internal. Not sure I'd go off for 3 days. I'd drive myself nuts. Although I do like time to myself, but I would actually. I'd want to do it as part of a group.
Like a retreat with a group of people.
Yeah, where you're all going through the same process and you realise that you're not the only one.
I'm surprised you didn't do that, Andy, because I've heard of these places where you can go off to South America and they all sit in a tent and smoke this weird stuff called ayahuasca or something and find themselves.
No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but it's recognising that you need to do it in the first place. So, that's the issue. It's recognising there's a problem.
Yeah.
And then admitting there's a problem.
Yeah.
So it's it's admitting that you're lost or admitting that it's different. We've had a couple of people in some of the meetings we've had talk about vacuums they're in.
Yes. Staring into the void.
Yeah.
Was one of the phrases was used, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and it is that, it's how do I get over that? And we put together some things that we think are the right things to do. but it's about understanding yourself and then understanding what your purpose is, what it is that makes you feel fulfilled and makes you happy. Fulfilled, I think, is a better word rather than happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But mine would be more group. So I find that I work much better in a group situation.
Yeah, so that would work for you.
Yeah.
So Andy, I'm conscious that we're on the hour now, so I think we should start winding down. I think Andy and I have said enough. We said our piece. If any people are watching this, is there any questions that you'd like to ask at this point? Anything you'd like to throw into the mix? This is the opportunity. Ask some questions, comment, whatever it is you're fancying doing. If you don't do that, we will wrap things up, I think, Andy. So we're going to give you a few seconds. Viewers? I couldn't think of the word. Watchers, viewers. Yeah, viewers. We'll give you a few seconds, viewers, to chuck your comments in if you'd like to comment, and you'd like to ask any questions or raise a point. Please do, and we'll count it down and go if that's okay with you. So no, it doesn't look like anybody's going to ask any questions again, Andy.
It does look like that.
Yeah, one day maybe. Mind you, we've had a few good comments along the way, so thank you very much to Steve Woodhead for his comments, and to Peter DeFilia. Thank you very much for your comments, and John's Garage.
We do have a question.
Oh, excellent. Oh, Steve's asked it. Is it easy to be retired as a couple than on your own? I assume you mean like a couple with either your wife or husband or partner, that sort of thing. Is that what you mean, Steve? I would imagine.
Yeah.
Well, your wife's not retired, is she, Andy?
No, she's not. So my wife, actually, when I left my job, her wife started. So she's an acupuncturist and she writes. I think it's easy to be retired if you're a couple.
Is what easier?
If you're a couple, you don't both have to be retired. I think sometimes actually, if you're both retired as a couple, it's harder to get to know each other and to get to work together.
Yeah.
And it is about reworking relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know any other way. We're both married. We have partners. But
yeah,
and it works.
Well, my sort of take on this is that is it easier to be retired as a couple than on your own? Yes, in principle, it seems to be easier. When I look at most of the people I know that are retired at the same time, but as you quite rightly point out, Steve, and I'll just put your other comment up on here, that you've been retired 4 years, and your wife's or your partner, wife, whatever, is due to retire in 4 months. So at the point that they become retired, I think you would probably find retirement easy because you do start doing things together, a lot more things together during the day. But if you if you're not in sync, like you retired 4 years ago, your other half didn't. If you're not in sync, I think then retirement can be harder because they're still going off and doing their thing, whatever that is. Assume it's work for the sake of argument. They're still working. And they will have different energy levels at the end of the day and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's probably harder for people who retire at different times, and there's quite a gap. But I'm only basing that on the people I know in my family, like my parents. My dad retired at 56, but my mum carried on working until 60, and so he was retired for quite a good few years before she retired. Did he find it hard? No, not at all, because he'd had his plans and he retired into something. Did his retirement improve once my mum had retired? Absolutely. Yeah, they started doing a lot of things together, a lot of traveling together and stuff like that. My Uncle Archie, 94 years of age, the legend. He's been, a widower now for 12 years. His wife died when he was 82. He retired at 62, around the same time as his wife. And if he was on the show, he'd tell you that he had a great time.
Yeah.
Him and his wife. So I'm only basing it on role models, people that I know in my life. Although I do the biggest thing I hear from people on the commenting, and also I've had one-to-one conversations with, is that it's more of a challenge when the other half is just not on side at all, and the other person's not adapted. They've retired and not adapted. The other half's working, and that's where I've seen problems with people. I haven't seen any problems with people who have actually retired at the same time.
Yeah, I think one of it's about synchronizing your routines over a period of time, because you'll have been in a routine now for 4 years, and your wife will have to, you'll have to adapt it, and she will have to work with it. I mean, me and my wife do lots together, but we also do things differently. It's respecting space. I think the other side of this is, because we have had some comments in previous chats like this where people have commented and said, they've retired and their wife, or they don't want to retire, their wife died, or they haven't got a wife, or they're divorced, and it's very hard because it just feels like a big void you're retiring into.
Can I just ask Steve a question on this one, Steve? Are you looking forward to your wife retiring, or other half retiring in 4 months? Yeah, or have you enjoyed the last 4 years of being the only retired person, and you're actually worried about it or dreading it? Dare you leave that comment, or is your other half likely to watch this video? Be interesting to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to type.
Yeah.
If not, we'll be wrapping up, Andy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. So you are looking forward to them retiring.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Good. Fantastic. Well, as I say, my experience is that retired couples do tend to do a lot of things together, as well as having their independent lives. I mean, my wife and I, we do a lot of things together, but we've also got our own separate gigs as well, and it works well. Well, thanks for that, Steve. Thanks for that last conversation. Don't worry about keeping Andy from his tea.
I'm going out for dinner tonight, so
yeah, he's always got something. He's always got something planned.
Well, that's because I've got a full day, Nick, a full life.
Steve says he's wanting to do the things that we want to do, things we used to do in our 20s. Yeah, why not? Why not, Steve? Yeah,
if you can, yes, brilliant.
Steve, I've known you a long time. All I was doing in my 20s was working long hours and and managing to sort of nip off to places like Ayia Napa in Cyprus, and that was about it. So it was work hard, go to Ayia Napa, but with my wife, because I was married at 24. But good luck with that. You'll enjoy that. The things you do in your 20s. Why not? Wind the clock back. Yeah. Thanks very much. Right, Andy. Thanks very much for joining me again today and having this chat. I hope the viewers have got something out of it. If you are watching this and you have got something out of it, please comment. We like to hear from you and ask more questions. Andy and I will be monitoring the comments after this video is finished, and it'll be posted up onto YouTube. So if there is anything else you want to ask or add, and you didn't feel like you wanted to do it here, then do it in the comments or email us. Yeah. hello@whatnextexec.me. Yeah. So that's hello@whatnextexec.me. I can't really type that fast enough. Maybe I'll have to put it up. So Andy, talk for a minute whilst I just put that up on there. So I should have put that email address up there, shouldn't I? Hello at whatnextexec.me. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
So right, you go. So there's the email address. If you've got any questions or you want to have a chat with me or Andy, drop us a line at hello@whatnextexec.me. and we'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Right,
Yeah.
lovely. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.